morning from Vietnam. Good afternoon to you, Jane. Thanks a lot for spending your afternoon to join our program to celebrate also our 4th anniversary of this program, and to let us have the honor to interview you and sharing your stories to our global audience. And on behalf of the listeners around the world, we want to say thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Ha. Thank you, Vivian. And I'm honored to be a guest on your show and the 4th anniversary. So really nice coincidence.
Yeah, the honor is ours. So you've been to our country already, so it's very honor for our audience if they can have you to share a little bit about who you are and the work you do. Would you please do that honor for us?
Okay. Oh, hopefully will not be a too long story. So my name is Jane Sum. I'm born and raised in the Netherlands, Chinese origin. I'm now back in the Netherlands. I'm living in The Hague, but I have been back for 3 years. And before that, I was working actually abroad in different countries. So I worked in China before, in Thailand, in Germany. And linking back to Vietnam, I was working in Vietnam. Not in Vietnam, but I was there often when I was working in Thailand. I think I was there from 2012 to end of 2016, and I was visiting Vietnam, right? Vivian knows that, and I visited you, and you were accompanying me, and I think Vietnam for me, what's coming up for me is that the people, firstly, all very friendly, right? But there was so much spirit of entrepreneurial spirit, right? People want to work, they want to build a better life, and they go for it. And I think that was really what is coming up for me when I think back of Vietnam. And for sure, the very good seafood I enjoyed, the very good food, and the very nice places. But I think that spirit people have, that mentality of wanting better and doing their best, is something which is I remember very well.
you introduced about your amazing journey to us in less than 2 minutes, Jane, and that's not fair for our audience, okay?
Oh, but you will ask me more questions, so I don't want it to be a monologue.
So our conversation is designed for our audience to know more about your journey and the path that leading to what you've been doing these days, right? So we're gonna travel time together. And how does traveling time sound to you?
Yeah, sounds good. Like I haven't been traveling back in time for a long time, so I'm also curious what will come up for me. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we're excited too. So when I was little, I grew up in a very poor community in the middle of Vietnam. So we have a really good seafood there. Way better than Ho Chi Minh City seafood, I think, because it's fresh. Okay.
Yeah.
But because we grow in a very poor community, so one night we have electricity, the next day that maybe a day or two we didn't have electricity. Even when I met Vivian in America, her parents didn't even thought that there was no electricity in my hometown. And that was like in 2003. So my first dream about the works that I would love doing in this world is become an astronaut, so I can go into the moon and see how bright up there. So for Vivian, she always wanted to become a singer when she was young. Then when you look at it, right, life have took us to different directions and make us do things that really different from what we wanted to do when we were young. So Jen, when you were little, what was your dream about your future and the work that you are going to do?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think I didn't have that really clear, like a dream, like I want to be a singer, I want to be an astronaut. But I remember when I was very little, I think I wanted to be a doctor, wanted to maybe study medicine. But I don't know, actually, somehow I did not do that. And I'm not thinking back. I actually don't know why. I still remember I had to fill in a form, and maybe I don't know whether in school you have that as well. You have to fill in a form, maybe elementary school. You have to write down what kind of profession you want to have, right? Who do you want to be? And I filled in actually a doctor. So thinking back, I don't know why did that change, right? I guess it was I'm wanting to help people. I was always a person who was very much, I think, focused on people, help people, see how I can help. And that is also my childhood. Maybe we will also come back to that. So yeah, if you ask me what I wanted to be, that was probably when I was a kid, a doctor. But I didn't become a doctor. And Vivian didn't become a
You
singer.
were a doctor. Chemistry.
Yeah, but maybe in a different way, right? So I'm
Yeah.
thinking now, I'm not helping people maybe to kind of, with physical illnesses. But now I'm kind of like, I didn't tell you guys yet, right, in my very short introduction, that I'm a coach now, where I now actually see as a coach, I'm not like fixing or giving medicine or things like that, but I'm creating space for people, I think, to get to know themselves, and to also understand what's holding them back. And in the end, that they can really live up to their potential, right? That they can, be the best version of themselves. So now thinking back, not becoming a doctor, but becoming a coach, somehow only now I'm connecting this. I like, yeah, it's actually, there is a connection there, right? In my view, as still supporting people in the end, right? And that is also something I think in my career, being in corporate, I was in corporate for 20 years. The things which I think I mostly really cared about or really remember also, the moments are actually with the people, whether these are my team members or my colleagues or, my clients. I think it's all about people. So somehow, I'm already learning a lot, huh, Vivian? Not becoming a doctor, but kind of a different type of doctor. But it's about connections. And that is one of my, I think, important values, which I discovered on the way, that is giving me energy. Yeah.
Wow. So now you are leaders, doctors, having leaders to get better in the way they lead and others.
Yeah,
And that
funny.
job we have, the job is an honorable job to have, because it will give a leader to do better job to lead and to create an environment for other people to blossom and to grow also.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. And we always want that to happen, this kind of conversation, because if you hope for the next generation, when the parents come home, right, and look at the dining table, when they have the conversation at home, they talk about how great their boss are, how great their managers are, how great the workplace are,
Yeah.
right? And that will
Yeah.
give their children the hope for, and the curiosity to go to the workplace when they get older. So that's wonderful. And and you look at when we were young, we won't be able to see what ahead of us. And then, like Steve Jobs say, you can only connect the dot backwards. And now the dot
Yes.
connecting
Funny,
backwards
right?
beautifully. Yeah, funny, right?
Yeah. See, already first learning from me in this interview. So yeah, yeah.
And
So yes,
yeah,
Vivian, go
and
ahead.
for me, Jane, I see in you, I really admire you because you're growing up in the Western and you embrace a lot the Asia culture. I feel that you are the bridge to connect this kind of thing, and a lot of people, maybe from my side and I can feel that resonate a lot. And then this is a thing, to be a leader and and understand both of these worlds. How would you help the leader to balance? The empathy and performance, the different of the culture's expectations and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's your question, right? How to
Yeah.
balance that, right? I don't know whether I have a short answer on that, because I think leadership, going back to what Ha said about leadership and good leaders, I think leadership starts really with ourselves, right? Really, firstly, getting to know ourselves. What are our values? What is important to us? What is driving us? And also importantly, what are the unconscious drivers we may have, right? Or what is really holding us back? And I think when we are bridging cultures, And for me, it comes kind of naturally because I'm like a Chinese born in the Netherlands. I was always surrounded by different type of cultures. So I had the opportunity to get to know the Chinese culture, but I also have the opportunity to get to know the Dutch culture. And they're very, very different, right? And I also remember my first job after my PhD. I was working for a Japanese company, a Japanese pharmaceutical company, and they sent me to Japan for half a year with actually the target of bridging the different cultures, because the Dutch and the Japanese are also very, very different, right? So I think it's really understanding yourself, self-leadership, being aware of, who you are, what you value, and also having that openness then to others, right? I think if you're open to others, even though you don't know that culture and you don't judge. So for me, curiosity is really, really important, because curiosity is the antidote of judgment, and judgment really breaks relationships and trust. So when we build that bridge to to another culture, I believe is really bringing in curiosity, right? When people doing things, you think this is strange, I will not do that. Don't think in right or wrong and things like that, but really more like why, right? Trying to understand so that you can really build that relationship, right? That trustful relationship. I think you mentioned also, Vivian, the balance between the performance
And empathy.
and the empathy, right? And that is a topic which is coming back a lot also with my clients, because also if I look at myself, one of my saboteurs are actually the pleaser. I'm from an Asian culture where, you'll have to help others, right? I mean, in my family, at least, I was brought up in a way like you always have to be helpful, don't speak up too much, right? Especially the elderly, you have to have respect. So for me, that was actually quite difficult, because the saboteur was always telling me, if something is going wrong, or keeping the harmony. And I really discovered that that is actually holding me back. A very nice value of wanting harmony coming from the Asian culture is a very good thing. But if the driver is fear, because fear of conflict, then that is actually stopping us, right? And that's really blocking us. And I think people with a lot of empathy often, really have challenges in, more difficult conversations, in conflict, because they're very worried that the other person will feel bad about it. Right. So, and I think we have to kind of reframe that, right? That saying, having tough conversations is not being kind, but sometimes it is being kind to have that tough conversation. And for me, that was actually quite difficult learning as well, because we all have different saboteurs, right? Because of our culture. And for me, this is also one of the challenges. So balance performance and also empathy. And this is, I think, an ongoing learning, right? How do we do that? And it's really, I think, facing our fears, right? Why are we afraid of saying actually something which is maybe just a constructive feedback, right? Or maybe asking your team to perform, or but then you may feel bad about it, right? So it's really, I think, when you feel uncomfortable, I've learned, when you feel uncomfortable, then something is there, and we should, instead of walk away, we should actually embrace the fear and look into the eyes of the fear, like, hey, what is this telling me? What am I afraid of? And often, this is just a pattern we have, right? It's the saboteur and the pleasing type of feature. Maybe I have, and others also have. To really look into that, I think, what are we trying to protect, right? And the saboteurs, or the inner voices, actually, they are not there to harm us. They're there to protect us. Right? We want to be liked. So I'm pleasing because I want people to like me, right? And others do other things, right, to be liked. But I don't need that protection anymore. I can be having honest conversations, but at the same time, I'm very kind. Kindness is also one of my values. And that sometimes it is not only about being nice, right? And saying yes all the time, but it's also actually having the courage, right? To say things which may be the right things to do. And that, I think, is the other value I have, is also honesty and authenticity. And I always thought authenticity means not lying, being honest, right? Then you're fine, I always thought. But then I discovered it's also about having the courage to be yourself and to share what you really feel and think, and not only say things because they are nice for the other person to hear. And I'm still struggling with that. I mean, this voice is still in me telling me like, hey, be nice. Hey, don't give this person too much work. But yeah, so still working on that. But it's really, I feel really fortunate that I am in that leadership development myself. By being a coach, I'm learning so much from my clients and from everybody around me. So I'm very grateful for that. But it's a learning process. I don't know, did I answer your question or did I derail?
That's
I
lovely,
derailed
Jen.
completely.
Well,
Kindness,
I
courage. Yeah.
think Vivian is so exciting. So she jumped the ship a little bit faster than the speed it should be, and when we look at the things that you just share, is a 20-30 years of experience of working in different culture, in different roles, leading different people that give you a word of wisdom just sharing there. And now we want to travel time again to
Yes.
when you were young, all right?
Yes.
And then we want to see where that piece of wisdom starting to grow and get there. Okay.
Wow.
So
Beautiful.
earlier in this conversation, when we asked about what your dream is, that you want to be a doctor, right? So medicine. Was there anybody in the family or in around you that influenced you to have that kind of dream when you were young?
I think, I guess that dream was maybe, I'm just thinking, because I never thought about it. It was not that I know somebody in my family who is a doctor, but I think in my mind, a doctor is doing good, right? A doctor helps people, right? Cures people. And I guess that's the part which is attractive for me, being able to help people with their illnesses. So I guess there already this people orientation started, that that it is, I think that there it started, that taking care of people is important. And I think when I was young, as you know, I'm born in the Netherlands and born in a Chinese community where I'm the first generation born in the Netherlands. So my parents and also a lot of other family, they don't speak Dutch. So actually, from when I was very, very young, I was already like supporting and helping. So very naturally, I was kind of like, I don't want to say pushed, but naturally I had to take a certain role. And I don't know why I'm telling this, but I guess it's connected to helping people, right? And because it's not necessarily being an artist or something, showing my creativity, but it's really about using my skills to help people. And I guess a doctor is doing that, and I was doing that already from when I was really little, but I didn't have a choice. I was the eldest in the family, so naturally I get that task of doing things, and I think having quite young a lot of responsibility also shaped a little bit, not a little bit, I think shaped a lot to who I am today. Yeah.
Wow. So when you say that when you at the age to select the major for you to study and have a career in the future, right? So you pick chemistry, but at the time you could pick anything that can have a career, like banking, like any other things, right? So why chemistry?
I guess I like science. I think science is, and not economics. Maybe I was still not, and maybe I should change that. I'm not very much focused on the money part, but I just was in a webinar about money mindset, which was organized by the NGO organization I support. Is that how to say, so economics was not something I was attracted to because I was never like focused on that. So still not. So economics not. And I could, if I look at science, as I told you just earlier in our pre-discussion, I thought science will open up many different type of opportunities for me, because I didn't know exactly then what type of role or function or profession I want to have, and science will give me that opportunity. Within science you have different subjects, right? I could have done physics, I could have done mathematics, and I choose chemistry. So those are more like the obvious science subjects you could choose. I think physics I was not as good as chemistry. Physics is, I think, really difficult. So I think, okay, I'm not going to do physics. Actually, I also really like mathematics, but I thought mathematics may be too abstract, maybe for a next role. And actually, I always liked my chemistry classes, to make things, to boil things, and that I had in my mind, I guess, right? Which is more a combination of doing things, practical things combined with theory, whereas mathematics in my mind at that moment was maybe more onto the theory part. So that's why I picked chemistry. I liked it, and the others were like, but I could have also probably studied mathematics, and maybe I will end up in the same place as I am today. So I think in the end, it does not really matter what you choose, even, because you always will learn something, right? I think if you make a choice and you do something, then you will meet a certain group of people probably. And if I studied mathematics, maybe I met other people. But in the end, it's not about those small steps we are taking, right? On the whole, if we know where we want to go, it doesn't really matter. So, for me at least, I think those specific choices, I felt aligned to do that, and I thought it was a good idea. But sometimes you also make decisions based on intuition or also no real reasoning. But in the end, there's never, at least for me, I've never really regretted the choices I made. And even though I didn't know where they will end up. So choosing chemistry was kind of like, maybe nice, and don't know where I will end up, but I'll see, and I will enjoy it. You can already see I'm not very much like, I want this, I do this. So so I'm not that type of person. It's more in the flow, I think, like what I feel like would be good in that moment. So no long-term planning, actually. Somehow.
The reason I ask is because in the world full of noises these days, it's hard for people to make that choice, because people will, when you mentioned about curiosity at the earlier in this conversation also, right? People will be having curiosity a little bit here, and then they drop the ball, and then having a little bit curiosity here, and then drop the ball. So not only that you get into the major of chemistry, you got your master degree and your PhD degree also from there. To me, it was like a lot of time investment and commitment in that. Bring us to those moments when you make those, like big investment of time, energy, and resources for you to go into like the PhD program.
I think also there I decided, I think when I went to my PhD, it was also in a period where the economy was not necessarily very, very good. And a lot of people who studied chemistry with me, they went to IT. It's around that year 2000, just before that, there were a lot of jobs in IT, but I didn't want to go to IT, right? So I thought, why hurry just to pick a job, right? And go into the job, into corporate or into the job market. I thought I will still have a long time to work. So I would just want to try out what it is, right? A PhD. And I thought that would, again, still, I think that's really the belief which also instilled by my parents and the culture, is to really build skills which will help you to have a good future. I think somehow, especially in the beginning and later on, not anymore, you'll see my choices are different. But I think a lot of choices in the past were based on that belief that do something useful, which can help you to have a good career. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I was not so aware, and I really am aware now that a lot of those choices were just also based on what my parents expected, what society expected, right? So I just also kind of go into that flow. And choosing for a PhD, I thought, yeah, it's a next degree, so I will learn a lot of new things, and I will probably, if I'm finished, I will be even more prepared to find a good job and a good future. And just try it out. And there's no rush, I thought at that time, because I didn't have in my mind like I want to become that and I want to have that job. I didn't. So I thought, yeah, why not then study more? And it was another 5 years. Quite long, because a lot of people, they start working when they're 22. But in Holland, actually, when you are a PhD student, you do get income. Not a lot, but it is like kind of working. So you already start with working, and I think that's not the same in every country. So we're quite lucky in the Netherlands when you get a PhD position to work on the degree. You actually get an employment. So that also makes it easier, because otherwise you don't have any income and you're still studying, right? So we're quite lucky. It's a little bit in between. And then I think I just curious and wanna explore and see how that is. Yeah.
Wow. And when you in the PhD program, what was your thinking about when you finished the program? What kind of work Jane's going to do? Would that be teaching? Would it be researching? Would that be be a scientist? What would that be?
Yeah, when I finished my PhD, I discovered for myself that I don't want to continue in academia. So that's also always good, right? I think it's always good to do something, to have different roles, also for you to understand what do you like and what you don't like. I think that's very important, right? Because before you do something, you don't know whether you will like it or not, right? So I discovered that research is not for me. So doing research in academia, or maybe even in companies, very much focused on the research work, is not something which gives me a lot of energy. It could also be that I was very bad in synthesizing the compounds I'm supposed to synthesize. Maybe that was the thing as well, because I had really troubles. I had to make compounds and also sugars. They were like I know Vivian will know, right? And maybe the listeners who are not chemists may not understand, so I will not go into details. Conclusion was what I had to make was not so easy, and it failed quite often, because when we do research, it's totally new. You don't know what will come out, right? So you just do and you'll see, and you'll have to measure. So in my PhD program, I had a part which is the practical work. As I told you, I was not too good at that, to make those compounds. It got pretty difficult for me then to make them. And after you synthesize them, so in my PhD work, it was trying to understand a chemical reaction. It's purely fundamental. So that PhD program is not applied. So what I've learned, I could not apply in Bayer or Covestro or in a chemical company. But it's really about fundamentally understanding, how reactions work, which was very interesting. But part of it I was not good at it, the synthesis part. But I did that part also in London. So I was in London, I think, for 4 months, and it was really a great opportunity. Was doing calculations, this theoretical chemistry. So I was behind the very old MacBook, calculating how the reaction would go. And what I really liked from my time there was actually meeting all these different people. Actually, already really early, I discovered my energy was coming from meeting people. Also, when I was doing my master, I was a short time in the US doing an exchange. And it was so interesting to meet all these people with different backgrounds. It was really inspiring. So already very early on, I think I was really interested by the stories of the people, by why people do the things they do, you know, the psychology of it. So I think it already started early now, if I'm looking back. So yeah, so when I finished the PhD, I knew I did not want to work in the lab. So that is the reason that so to answer your question, I'm very, maybe not too direct because I'm getting really enthusiastic as well. Then I decided I will not stay in academia, but I did learn a lot. So no regrets doing a PhD program because I learned about how to use our common sense, right? That analytical thinking, that strategic thinking, I think we learn as a scientist, right? But I decided to go into the corporate world, and my first job was for a pharmaceutical company, and a Japanese pharmaceutical company with an office in the Netherlands. And as a project manager. So I was really junior, my first job, and a project manager. And what we did in Holland was producing clinical trial material for clinical testing. So we had to make sure the pills we are making to give the test persons, that they were safe. And I was in the analytical department, but I was not in the lab anymore. I was really part of a project team, making sure that the clinical trial material is safe to be used. So then I already started to step out of this chemistry, because it was not really chemistry anymore. And I did that for a few years, and I don't know whether I spoke already just when Vivian asked. So for that job, I went to Japan for half a year to build a bridge between Japan and the Netherlands, actually. But again, that was about people, right? And I was working in a very small town, Yaizu, in Shizuoka, in Japan. And there were not many actually non-Japanese, right? This very more local type of environment. And I was working there actually where the factory also was, and that was really fascinating. It was so different from the Netherlands, right? Everybody was wearing a uniform, right? Everybody looks the same. We had morning gym, and but it was really, really a nice time. And I didn't speak Japanese, only a little bit. I did some training before I went there. But what I did was every Monday I had kind of a lunch talk with people who were interested, who wanted to practice English. And then we were talking about what we did in the weekend or anything what people want to share. And it allowed me really to understand a little bit better how they think, to learn deeper about Japanese culture, and also allowed them to understand how Dutch Chinese are. So that was really inspiring, and had a great time. And in 4 months, I mean, I made, I think, I built really good and very true connections, even though I don't see them anymore. But I still have to carry them in my heart, right? I still have the pictures and things they shared with me, and it's really nice. But that's, I think, and I think, Vivian, you're also bringing me back to all these parts in my life where I now see what's coming back from those periods are the people, I work with. So just interrupt me if I'm talking too much, if you think it's not where you want to go, but I will just keep sharing, and just stop me when you think, oh, go somewhere else. So
wow, it's very inspiring. I wrote it here, the through life for your story in here is all about the people, right? When earlier in your life is the belief from other people put into your world, that led you to the to study chemistry, and then after that is the whole journey of belief also for self-discovering. discover that what you like,
Yeah.
what you not like. And
Yes.
it's really hard for a lot of people from academia or scientist world
Yeah.
to jump out of their comfort zone
Yeah.
and then jump
Yeah.
into the whole new world of
Yeah.
corporate. It's really scary
Yeah.
and really different, right?
Yeah.
uh, so what are the beliefs that you had for you in order for you to not only into the academy and not in the corporate
Yeah.
world, but also go into the top level, in the global role as for the
Yeah.
corporate?
Yeah. Yeah. I think one we talked about already, I think, is curiosity, right? Being curious how it would be somewhere else. And I think it's very interesting. Somehow when I was younger, I was not so confident, actually. I was also quite shy. Many people tell me, I can't imagine you were shy. But actually, when I was young, I was really pretty shy, especially high school or elementary school. And I think the belief somehow I just trust the process. And I also somehow, even though I am shy and I'm insecure, somehow I still trust myself maybe as well, right? I trust when I jump into corporate, it will be fine, because I think in my life, I made quite big jumps, like coming from academia, going to corporate, starting in maybe as a project manager. Then I went to China and I did something totally different. I worked for a HR firm, and then starting, actually my first job more related to chemistry was with Bayer Covestro only in 2008. And then starting in a technical area, I went to a commercial area, which was really new for me as a scientist. Also, actually, really scary, right? People maybe will say, but in the end, somehow, also moving countries, right? From China to Thailand to Germany and then back. Somehow, those bigger decisions are sometimes even easier than those smaller decisions, like what should I cook tonight? What do I buy in the supermarket? Maybe you recognize that sometimes these small things are like, oh, I don't know. But those big things, I guess, it's still, aligned with my values somehow, that it feels good, and that I follow and trust myself and my intuition that they are okay. I think it's really something about aligned with who I really am somehow. And then I can just jump and see, because I think I trust the process, I can always learn something out of it, right? Even though it's very scary, I can always learn. And I think there was this saying, I think from Einstein or even maybe Mandela, maybe both, they talked about that, like, you will actually never fail, or you learn or you win, right? Or you, yeah. So you always will find something positive. And it's not about toxic positivity, because also my life has ups and downs. But I think it's really about the mindset. I really truly believe that's really important, that we understand, how our beliefs and perceptions, actually how our beliefs has shaped how we see the world, right? And how we see in what situation we are, right? Because if we are all three of us in exact the same situation, we may see it totally different because we have a different lens, right? So to understand your lens, I think, is really really helpful. And our lenses are also changing. When you are stressed, we see the world in a different way, right? When we're feeling good, we see the world in a different way. But I think it's so helpful to step back and to see, like, hey, in what mindset am I now? Am I stressed, and why? Yeah, so I don't know how we come to mindsets, but you were asking about, about those decisions. But I guess it's really coming back to alignment with our values, and understanding, the different mindsets we have and maybe also other people have. Does it make sense?
It's beautiful.
And then
I don't know
feel
whether it makes sense.
it is. And I can see like a lot of changes along the way, right? It's new
Yeah.
learning and stuff like that. Just really pick it out. Is there a moment of doubt you may have? Is this my right choice? And how would you navigate to be
Yeah.
trusting the system again, trust yourself again to carry on? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very good question, Vivian. So when do I have doubt? Yeah, I guess the doubt is, yeah. So I'm thinking of the big decisions I made. Um, I guess when I doubt, then if you look at the mindset of doubt is actually something which is giving you stress, right? Which is also draining energy. I think what I always try to do, I'm sure I have moments of doubt. Everybody has moments of doubts, but is to take a step back and get yourself out of that mindset of doubt. And what brings me, I think, to a mindset of learning and of taking an opportunity is curiosity. Yeah, so for me, that's I think which can help me, and also I'm just thinking, because I'm thinking out loud, what is helping me to get out of a more stress type of situation is, I think, yeah, also maybe remembering, trusting the process, looking back, how often did really things go wrong, right? Because sometimes we our voices who are telling us not to do things, like, oh, they try to protect us, right? These are the saboteurs which I'm talking about. But then if you feel that doubt and you feel that discomfort, then go to that place of doubt and find out, where is that coming from? Do I have a reason to doubt myself? And bring yourself back to a more confident, maybe a mindset. But it's not to say that it is easy. Yeah? Sometimes when we are in that stress situation or feeling doubt, we are overthinking a lot. Right, and when we overthink, it's very difficult to maybe step out of that by yourself, and I think therefore it's always good, and I was very bad at that, to be honest, is to also talk to people about your doubts, right? Talking about it, putting things in perspective, because in the end, it's about putting things in perspective. What can go wrong and what can you learn, right? If we focus on what can go wrong, yeah, then we may not do it, right? We see it as very risky. But if your mindset is like, what can I learn? What can I get out of this? And what is the win-win here? I think that mindset always helped me to help me out of the doubt, because I think, when I went to Thailand, it was the first time that I got actually a commercial job, right? I was in technical, and my job in Thailand was taking care of the sales operations in Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand. For sure, I was really scared. Right. I thought, oh no, I've never done really sales, right? I've done some sales when I was in HR. I was like, I've never done field sales in chemistry, and I'm going to lead a team. Definitely, I was very scared, right? And I doubt myself whether I can do it. But I still did it because I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity for me to live in Thailand. And also for me to learn, right? And I guess one of my values, because I talk a lot about values, because I think that's really important to know of, what our values are. One of my values is growth. And I think you too as well. So growth is the positive driver for me to take those steps. And the fear may be holding me back, could hold me back, the doubt, but my driver for growth, I think, is stronger every time. So I think that is really the one, curiosity and growth, right? I think for me, these are linked. I'm also growing in small ways, right? Growing doesn't need to be a big step, like going to another country. It could be for yourself. We define growth in all different ways. And I also like the small growth I'm making, even like in this interview, I'm learning. So I was very curious what this interview will be. And I thought, will it be good, right? But I'm sure. I trust you guys. I trust that it will be good. So I hope that answers the question. So for me, I think that's the growth and the curiosity, which for me and for everybody, that will be different. So look at your values. What is really driving you? What are positive drivers? And what are your drivers you maybe sometimes don't even know, who are unconsciously they are holding you back, but you don't know about them yet. Those are those hidden patterns we have, right? Which are kind of making us living in a type of autopilot way. Yeah. And then find out, you know, what will be this driver and value which can help you to overcome the self-doubt. And for everybody, that's different, right? Yeah.
Wow. It's such a beautiful answer. Thanks a lot for that piece of wisdom, Jane.
Thank you. Thank you for your chance for sharing.
You mentioned about trust the process.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not easy to have that process. Yeah. So you have your process. I have my process. Vivian has her process. And then, and conversation like this is for us to help our audience to see how Jane draw her process and put the process together, so they don't have to reinvent something new. They maybe just learning from Jane and can start to leverage from there. So when you mentioned about the word trust the process, how do you build that process for your life?
Yeah, I think a great question, because because I think every word has a different meaning to people, right? Maybe if I trust the process, people have a total different idea of what I mean. So I think it's a great question in order for me to maybe share what I mean with trust the process. So for me, a process is not a plan, it's not like steps I have already put down for myself. So actually I never put down that's my way, right? It's not necessarily a way for everybody, but I never have like, okay, this is the goal, I will have to go there, like a very concrete goal, or this is the title or the function I want to go. So not that concrete. For sure I have goals, like now I'm a coach, I want to be a good coach, right, etc. But I think what is my process and what is leading me, I'm coming back again, very boring, is to my values, because my values is actually my compass, right? They lead me to the direction I want to go. But in that process, you can maybe also then ask me, values, you know, how do you know your values, right? But that is then that self-leadership part. But I think also very important so firstly, your values guide you. So I believe if I live my values, then for me, I can trust that everything will be okay. So kind of that is my way, my compass for life, right? As I said earlier in the interview, for me, it's not about these small steps I'm taking, right? Having this role, having that role. If I'm acting or living my values, and I shared a few of them, right? Curiosity, growth, kindness, honesty. I believe if I really can act on them, it's not always easy, right? Honesty is, for me as a pleaser, not easy at all. But if I act on them, then I believe that I will get there where I want to. So that is for me trusting the process. But to know your values is also really a journey, right? For me to know what is important for me, and also to know because sometimes some of our values are fear-based. I talked about that value of harmony. So also it's actually a journey of discovery, self-discovery, right? What are the underlying beliefs I have which are holding me back, which will be translated in certain behaviors. So so for me, it's really trusting the process is living my values. And also to clarify, values can change. In a different phase of life, other things are important for you. Maybe when I was younger, achievement in my career was maybe more important than today, where I now really also focus a lot on connections, because I discovered that true connections really give me joy and good energy. And I think if I live them, even like in coaching, right, in the end, we also all want to earn a living, right? And but I want to do that in a way which is aligned with my values, right? And if I coach, I believe I can live my values in a very aligned way. So and I also believe that by doing that, it brings me fulfillment and joy, and also hopefully the other people around me, which I interact with as well. So I don't know whether that makes sense. So trust the process is, for me and for everybody, is different. It's not a step plan. It's really more inner work, I think, really looking into yourself. It's first starting with self-leadership. And I think from there, everything flows. I believe that so. From there, I think if you live your values, you attract the right people, you attract the right things, and also the good things will also happen in your life, right? The people you meet, I think the one thing will lead to the other, right? So I really believe in that, trusting the universe, trusting the process, and even the downs bring us something, right? Bring us people, bring us learnings. Yeah. So that's how I see it. But yeah, everybody sees it differently. I don't know whether it makes sense, but for me, it works at least.
You mentioned one thing here is very, very important, is trust, and then keep doing that, because at the result will come, right?
Yeah, the
And I want
result
our
will come.
audience to have that belief for themselves,
Yeah.
also to have the strength to believe that good things will come if they keep doing the right things, right? And a lot of us, a lot of people give up a little bit faster before they see the results.
Yeah.
So I want to seek from your advice on how you've been able to be having that curiosity plus the courageous to stay with your path a little longer to see the result to come.
Great question. A very actual question, what's happening to me now, for example. So I've been coaching for some time. I'm doing a coaching for companies as a freelancer. And at the beginning of this year, I decided I also want to build up my own business, my own client base, right? But that means you have to do marketing. And I've never done marketing. We have done marketing for products, right? Technical marketing, Vivian, but I've never marketed, my services. So for me, I'm really middle of that process of, showing up consistently, trusting the process, and trusting that it will come. And also, again, I think that growth value helps me because I've learned so much about marketing, about sales funnels in this way. And that keeps me, I think that keeps me also going, that all the things I do is giving me is giving me new learnings. So that gives me energy. So that keeps me going. And also, for everybody that's different, right? Finding something which, because I think it's very important to be aware of your energy, right? Energy management. What is draining your energy? What is giving you energy? When we don't have energy anymore, we will stop. And we will stop maybe too early, and that's really a pity, right? So also really being aware of that. And I know for myself that that the growth part would be good. And also, actually, I joined a business coaching program because I know that it's good to learn together, to be inspired by others, to having connections, to having a community. So I think also don't try to do alone. Maybe for the audience. If you have a journey, if you have something you want to do, ask for help and make connections with people. And I think that's very important. That also for myself in the past, when I look back to my struggles I had, is that I tried to do everything by myself. And now I'm getting better at, asking for help. And that's also, I think, related to confidence. So maybe when I was younger, I had the feeling I had to know everything, and if I ask somebody, that maybe means I'm not good enough, right? I'm not smart enough. And I think the older I am, the more I'm not fearing other people's opinions that much as before. So that pleaser voice is quiet, is much more quiet now. And and then also really look at communities and people who can help you. Accountability, I think for me, I realize that is very important to have an accountability partner or a community. So also just also be smart about it, right? What can help you and what is possibly stopping you from continuing. And it's also for everybody very different. But find out what your barriers could be, and do something about it, depending on the things which are blocking you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm still in the process. So I'm now trusting the process. I'm doing the work. I'm showing up. I'm learning so much. And I shared in one of my posts 6 months ago, I would have never thought I would be sharing personal stories online. And I'm having this interview with you now, right? Sharing my story. I would never thought actually in the past that my story was valuable enough to be shared. I still sometimes have that, right? Like, hey, is my story interesting enough? You know, I still thought, look, hi, and Vivian are inviting me for this interview, but who am I to tell people my story? But I think, yeah, I get very good feedback also on my stories, that if it's only a small inspiration or insight which can help people, why not, right? So, and that is also actually my a kind of my mission or purpose, how you want to put that, is I hope that with every interaction I make, I can have a positive impact, right? And that's why I really believe that coaching can be so powerful, right? Going back to your story about how what you were telling earlier about stories about good leaders at the eating table to inspire the kids, that, you know, I think if we can, because I see so many leaders struggling, and that's normal, we are all humans, but they have impact on their teams, right? So if those leaders can help themselves, right, understand themselves better, also acknowledging also the areas which are maybe not so good. We all have shadow areas, right? And if they can work on themselves and feel better and accept themselves as well, and they can be more authentic, right, towards the people they work with, it will have such a different impact on the team members, and those team members will have a different impact again on the people they interact with. So I really see that as a ripple effect, even as one coach, one person, right? It's one person at a time. You mentioned that earlier as well. One story at a time, one person at a time. But this person is spreading this, right? And you guys are doing that with your interviews, right? You're spreading this and creating that ripple effect. So I do think as individuals, we can have impact, right? Like you guys are doing. So, yeah. So, yeah, that was about, I think what I truly happy and grateful for is what I can do now. I'm very happy with all these different steps that I'm here, and maybe I still do other things, right? I still also do some other things next to coaching, and I'm kind of building up a portfolio career. So I'm also looking at supervisory board roles. So I have one role now, and it's also it's about growth. How can I contribute in a different capacity? What can I learn? I must say it's also often very uncomfortable for me, because it's getting out of your comfort zone, doing things I've never done before, but the growth value and curiosity value is helping me to still do it, right? And yeah, so I'm still learning a lot every day.
You have your value, your drive, a little way, and then you have the process solid built already. So the rest is just trust. You know, it will take you to where you want to go.
Yes.
You mentioned one word in here is a spot. Is sweet spot for Vivian is the word think, and she always loved to ask the question around that word. So I will leave that question for Vivian, please.
Yeah.
Well, even before that, Jane, I think you pick up a very good point. The hardest questions to ask is that I need help. Can someone help me? Yeah. So with all the people are currently silent right now, don't want to say it or don't want to show that they want to have that vulnerability, how would you tell them? What thing would they lose if they say so?
Yeah, and it's a very good question, because often the people who don't want to ask for help, not always, but I see also my clients a pattern, is that they think they are bothering the other person. They think they are not valuable enough to take time of this busy leader, right? Because they're already so busy. So I'm not going to ask this person to help me. But I think we always forget that people actually love to help. When you ask for help, you give the other person opportunity to feel happy. And often that is really the case. I think often it's about reframing, it's about mindset again, because we believe that we are a burden when we ask for help, or we believe also sometimes that if we ask for help, we are not good enough. But that means that we feel that we are not good enough, right? So we have to go back to ourselves, because if we feel good enough, then you don't have that barrier of, I ask for help, then people know that I am not as good as they think I am or something. So it's also going back to that inner work again. So removing those fears. And also the other part is like giving the other person an opportunity to help you. And most of the time people are really happy, but sometimes to think differently and also kind of challenge our own assumptions about asking for help, what they mean for the other or for you. And maybe I'm already jumping into the thinking question, so I will not share, but I was just thinking about actions and thinking, but maybe you will ask about that as well.
Yes, thank you, Jane. And for all the interview that we have, we always ask a great, coach or person, people that about thinking, because we know that all the experience that you've been accumulated for years, it's got to be something keep you think, for day, for night, for years and stuff like that. And both of us, we've been on the quest to help people to think more, because we feel like people may be not having that time, or they may be losing that ability to think because of the busy life and stuff like that. So when we meet a great people, we normally ask them one question. Yeah, we said, over the years, how have you continued to grow your own ability to think?
Okay. And you mean in thinking, can you elaborate on what do you mean with thinking?
Maybe that's a bit more expensive.
So the question is to unveil what do you do to help you to expand your ability to think?
Mm-hmm. And in thinking, then you mean getting new perspectives, maybe even, because I think, as I said before, the word thinking can have really different meanings, right? Thinking could be solving a problem, right? Thinking could be reflecting on something. So that's why I was trying to clarify, what do you mean by how to expand your thinking? Is it about getting more knowledge? Is it about getting more perspectives? Is it about having some time with yourself to think about things or reflect on things?
You're
Jane,
the first person, Jane.
I think
We didn't think of that.
I really love improvisation. So we don't want to stick with one way of doing, like you say, right? So it's a growth for us to learn from you. So you can share whatever you feel you want to share in terms of thinking, and yes.
Yeah, and you just improvise. I love that too, because I like that flow, the fluidity. Yeah, I guess what was coming for me, very interesting, I was thinking that we also should be careful of not overthinking, and we have to take action as well. So there is a balance between thinking and also sometimes have the courage to do things, because and you know that probably, and I definitely know that, right, from cognitive behavioral therapy, what we think determines how we feel, our emotions and feelings, and that determines actually how we act and how we behave. So and sometimes I see that people who only think a lot, that they don't get into action because they get stuck into those limiting beliefs they have. So I actually often say, when it's very difficult to break that pattern of limiting beliefs, act. Because when we act, we actually shape new beliefs, because we collect actually proof for a belief which was actually not serving us. For example, if somebody is very afraid to ask a question, right? That happens a lot to us, right? In a room, right? At work, because they feel like they're junior and they don't have a good question to ask, and they're very afraid what people think of them. So they overthink a lot and they think they are not good enough, right? So you can break that pattern, right? Try to break that pattern and break that limiting belief. But sometimes it's so deep in them, it doesn't really work. So what you can do in the same time is just for the person to take the courage and be brave and just ask a question. Not think, but act. And by acting, you will find out that, hey, it is not so scary to ask a question. Actually, my colleague also wanted to ask the question, but actually didn't dare to. And then by acting and taking these small steps, by acting, you actually change the belief that you are not valuable enough, that you're not good enough. And then, and then you actually created a new belief for yourself, right? So that was actually the first thing which was coming up for me when you asked about thinking. I was thinking, be careful, don't overthink. That was the first reaction. But I think if I go back to thinking and expanding, I think it's really about different perspectives. Again, going back to learning from different people, different cultures, or reading a book, or anything which can give you different ideas. Because then, if you have more ideas, you will come up with different solutions, right? If we have only talking to 3 people, then it's very limited in terms of perspectives, right? But if we are open to more perspectives, I think it will help us to find a better solution in the end. But I think what is always difficult is that it's very easy, like, to talk to you when we have the same values, right? And we have to, and it feels familiar. It doesn't feel scary, right? But if people are very different from you, then it's very difficult to actually not judge and bring curiosity and really listen. Because sometimes we feel maybe like threatened, and then we don't open up. Or sometimes we think that this is a stupid opinion. I totally don't agree with it. But then you also close down, right? And I think also there, and that's why I really like our Covestro value, actually, Vivian, curiosity. If we can bring in curiosity everywhere, then it really lowers the judgment, and that really can help us also to work with people we don't feel so comfortable with, right? And that's very normal that we don't feel comfortable with everybody, but the people who are most different from us are actually the ones we can learn probably the most from, because they have something we don't have, probably, right? And that's always a very interesting area, I think, to explore. Like, if a person is giving me discomfort, probably because this person is very different from me, right? Different values, a very different background. And instead of, not engaging, is bringing in curiosity to do engage. And then you actually found out we're all humans, and we're still actually similar needs. But the starting point and the stories of the others are so different that sometimes, because of the different stories, their behavior is very different. So instead of judging the behavior and understanding the stories behind, I think is very helpful to expand our thinking. Going back to your question, expand the possibilities actually we may have. So. Wow. Is that okay? So it's maybe different than you expected, but it sparked something else when you are asking that question. And I think that's the beauty of interaction, right? Because nothing, for sure, you probably prepared your questions a little bit, but every person you talk to probably is very different, and other things are coming up, and also for me. I was very curious and excited, and I loved our conversation. And I truly hope that it maybe can inspire or give some ideas, and maybe even just different perspectives, right? People don't need to agree with or even do what I do. Definitely not, because we're all different persons. And I also think that we should not copy other people, but we should find our way, right? Our process, our values. And I think that's an easy thing. So I, as a coach, right, we never give advice because we are not that person. But what we do as a coach is actually giving the opportunity to find out the different perspectives and for them to choose what is the best for them in that moment, right? So therefore I also try to do that, just give perspectives and hopefully that it resonates and people pick their own nuggets out of our conversation, right? Yeah.
By hearing what you share, it's also expand my thinking already there. Okay, it helps to expand in my world also. I have the last question for this conversation today, and I wanna give myself just a few seconds to think about that last question. I want to bring you to a different, to travel time with me one last time.
Yes.
Okay. So you are the first in your generations to born in the Netherlands, right? You did not go into, speak Dutch until you went to your elementary school. And you live your life helping other people always in the core of, the works that you do. And as I remember about this conversation, so many beautiful things. One of the beautiful things that pop up is you always believe and let other people outside of your world to tell you what's good about your future. So definitely curiosity always inside of you, Jane, for a long time. That definitely have the moment that you ask, why do you need to do that? Why do you need to listen to other people? The world is out there and you can explore the world yourself. I want to bring you now, travel with me and Vivian to see that little girl when she had the moment of doubt in your life, and you share with her the wisdom that you've been having in, traveling the world, leading organization, leading teams, leading the industry, and having leaders now to getting better. You want to talk to that little Jane about the work.
Yeah.
What would be the one thing that you're going to tell that little Jane?
Yeah. Trust yourself. I think trust yourself. And in the end, I think, I think that's important. Self-belief, right? Trusting yourself that no matter what comes, right? You can do it, right? There's always, you always win. You always learn, right? From anything. So, and I think I'm happy that I think somehow, even though I was shy, even though there were ups and downs, so somehow there was unconscious that feeling that, it will be okay,
Wow.
You have been a coach for the whole time that I've known you. The first book that you gave me is Strength Fighter. You're not going to tell me what I'm good at. You have to figure it out.
But that is so important, right? I think we can talk for hours, but maybe just one thing, because you brought that up. I think it's so important to know what are our natural strengths, what really gives us energy, right? Because if we are doing things which is like a natural strength, it doesn't cost energy, right? It goes effortless, right? We go into flow. And for sure, we don't always have the luxury that we always in that flow state. But I think when we look for roles, when I coach clients, this is also a very big part. So I always talk about values. I always talk about mindset, and I always look with them. What are they really good at? But also, what gives them energy? Because all related. It's about energy management. And when you know your strengths and you can really use them in your work, you would be so much happier because it will flow. And for sure, maybe 5% of the things you don't like and frustrate you, but that's okay. That's normal. But if the biggest part is able to fill your tank or, charge your batteries, then you can keep going in a very light way, right? And we don't want to feel heavy. We don't want to feel pressure. And maybe one equation I always use, and which I would like to share as well, if you don't mind, is, and I think a lot of coaches use this, is performance is potential minus interference, minus stress. So if as a coach, I try to help my clients to find out what is interfering them, what is blocking them. Imagine you can remove a big part of that, your potential, you can live up to that potential, and then your performance will go up, right? And it could be very small things. Sometimes maybe just drinking too much the other day already lowers us performance, because that's the interference, right? The potential didn't change, it's in there, right? But yeah, how to let have that coming out, I think, is really important for leaders to do. And yeah, so I think that is an important part of that work I do, which I really love, is to get the best out of the people and also out of ourselves, right? And the Strengths Finder, the link there is that sometimes we don't know what our potential is. So a big part is also discovering that, right? I mean, because if you don't know, you can't use it. So it's that equation looks simple. It's about the interference part is simple, but sometimes the potential part is also like a kind of a puzzle, right? Oh, what am I good at? What's giving me energy, right? And that's and I think that's also very important to look at, and that will help us, I think, in our career choices, and makes us. And sometimes it's just exploration. We go in a job and think, oh, this is draining my energy, so this is not what I need to do, and from those choices we learn a lot as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. We tend to overlook that big part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank
This
you.
is
Thank
the
you.
best, like 4-year anniversary ever for us. The anniversary, it's out of expecting. We didn't even remember this is our birthday, the 4-year birthday for the
That's
program.
so funny.
Having the wonderful conversation like this make us feel like we so enjoy doing what we do, like you say, and maybe feel like life is so blessing. Thank Jane. Thanks a lot for being so generous to spend your Friday afternoon to join our program, to share your amazing story. A lot of wisdom in here for us to feel confident, to discover the world, to believe in ourselves, to let curiosity lead the way, to have the moment to step back when we have doubt and ask questions, right? Don't overthink, ask questions, to reflect and be able to move from thinking to the doings and then learn from there. I think is a lot of good things that you share in this conversation today. And believe in ourselves, have that big belief that things will work out itself. And I have the belief that we're going to meet you in person one day soon.
Yeah,
And,
I hope so, Vivian,
me
to see you again
too.
and meet
Yes,
you for the
please.
first time, huh?
Yeah.
In Vietnam or in the Netherlands or maybe
Yep.
somewhere else. Yeah, and thanks a lot again for this great opportunity and facilitating this so well. Impressive how you make this wonderful summary. Very powerful. So that's also an art. And also Vivian for really your questions, and I'm so happy to see you after so many years. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Having a wonderful weekend, and
We'll keep
I
in
wish you all the
touch.
best. Yeah, keep in
Yeah.
touch. Keep in
Yeah,
touch.
we keep in
Yes.
touch, and I wish you all the best with all the work you are doing together, and also the separate works you are doing. Yeah, I think it's great what you are doing, and the energy you spend in this. So I believe that it gives you energy. That's why you can do that, right? I was so impressed about writing this book in such a short amount of time. So I think that's really an example about putting time in things which, makes you feel joy probably and gives you energy. So then, then it doesn't feel like an obligation, right? Yeah. Great.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much, Jen.
Thanks a
Yes.
lot. And we'll keep in touch.
Keep in
Yeah.
touch.
Yeah,
Keep in
please.
touch.
Okay.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
And have a great
Bye-bye.
weekend.
You
You
too.
too, Jen.
You
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.